I'm going to do a very short introduction of our three speakers tonight. We have Connie Baxter Marlow, Andrew Cameron Bailey, and Alison Baxter Marlow, who is Connie's daughter. Connie is a trained landscape photographer, and her work has been shown in galleries throughout the country. Andrew Cameron Bailey is a British-born South African who grew up in Southern Africa during the 1950s and 60s. He has been photographing Indigenous subjects since 1968. And Alison, where are you? There you are. At only 18 years of age in 1998, she traveled to China with an explorer. And I was reading some of the information on Alison. At that age, she was standing on a desolate road in Tibet looking for a ride. And she said a truck barreled over the ridge, and she had her thumb out. She was hitchhiking at 18 on a desolate road in Tibet. The truck stopped, and she said there were 2 pigs, a cow, and about 25 Tibetans that were spilling out the sides and the back of the truck. She didn't think she could fit in, but they motioned her in. She got in the truck. She said one person was basically sitting on top of her. She had a little girl on her lap, and a cow that was trying to balance kept stepping on her foot. But she had no room to move her foot because it was absolutely packed. But she said in the ride, she got to know the Tibetans, and they will be a part of her forever. I love that because she says at 40, she doesn't know if she would have the courage to do that again, and we all know that feeling. We were all once 18. I will now turn it over to Connie.
Thanks, Lisa, for the lovely introduction of us all. And hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. Wow. And so many friends and family are here. I'm just thrilled that this show that was birthed in 1999 in Brunswick, Maine at Bowdoin College is now being enjoyed today, 25 years later. So it's an interesting story as to how it came about, and it actually was initiated by Allie returning from China and Tibet, and she brought her photos in and she looked at them and she threw them on the table. I was in the dining room and she threw them on the table and said, "Oh, damn." She was so disappointed because so many of them were improperly exposed. The camera had been malfunctioning. So she walked out. I picked up the photos and went, "Oh, damn." And we're from Maine, so we swear a little. I don't know if you know people from Maine. But anyway, I looked at those photos and they were so extraordinary that my dad had been traveling the world photographing Indigenous peoples since 1982, and this was 1998. And I had been living with Indigenous peoples around the United States and Mexico since 1990, and taking photographs. I had been taking photographs not for exhibition, but just because I'm a rabid photographer and I have shutter finger disease. And ask my children. They have the best documented childhoods of any children on the planet. And so I had these photographs. My dad had the photographs. When I saw Allie's, I'm like, a 3-generation show on Indigenous peoples of the world. So I asked my dad, I said, "Dad, if I put together a show on Indigenous people, would you cooperate? Would you supply your pictures?" He said, "Oh, okay," but nobody would ever come to it. And so I called Bowdoin College in Brunswick, Maine. Our family had been on the Board of Overseers since its inception. And I called them and said, "How would you like an exhibit of 3 generations of Baxters at the college?" And they're like, "Yeah, we'd love it." So we were in Maine in 1999 with my mother, who was in the stages of dementia. We had taken her back from Oregon. They had moved to Oregon from Maine in 1966. And so we were back there, and we created this show, my dad and I together, while we were caring for my mother back there. So it was birthed then in 1999, and then toured the state of Maine in various galleries, and came to be known as Rhythms of Creation, Impressions of Indigenous Peoples of the World. And it toured the U.S. a bit here in Colorado, in Aspen, and in Montrose at the Ute Museum there, and then in Chiapas, Mexico, where I had been sent to check in with the Maya people, and in Chiapas, Mexico in 1991 with my 3 kids. Allie was 10 at the time, and her sister was 8, and her brother was 4. And I had been sent on a journey by spirit. I don't know how many of you feel that way, that life unfolds as one responds to circumstance and to messages from who knows where. Anyway, so I had been, so we had been there in Chiapas, and so then I just sort of lost my thread.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Family here, babe.
Yeah, and so my photography, I had just been living with these various tribes for all this time, and so this show, oh, I know what I was talking about. The show went to Chiapas, and on Allie's 21st birthday, we had a major show in Chiapas, and then the most recent show in Chiapas was in 2018 when Andrew and I went back and were artists in residence at the same place that we had gone, that I had been sent with my children in 1990. It was 2018, we were called back to that place as artists in residence. And that was the last time this show has been shown. And now here it is, rebirthed here in Fort Collins, and we're just thrilled to have you all here. So now I'll turn it over to, well, let me just say one other thing. As the show evolved, my ex-husband's photography, Dave Marlow, photography joined, and you'll see his photography in the hallway. And his photography is from this book, The Art of Grace and Passion. In 1999, he's a commercial photographer, Dave Marlow, and he still is a working commercial photographer. And he was commissioned by the Aspen Art Museum to do this book. And so you'll see the photos from there. We birthed and raised the children in Aspen, Colorado. You all heard of it, I'm sure. And then we added Andrew Bailey, my current husband, to the show, and his photography from the Sand Bushmen of the Kalahari, and he'll speak to you about that. So which one of you would like to come forth?
Me?
Sure.
Are you putting me on the spot?
I think he's putting me on the spot.
Is it better without the mic or with the mic? Because I hear all
All
this.
this,
You prefer with or without?
With.
With, without.
With.
I'll say it in my ear. With?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So, I had the amazing good fortune as a little 3-year-old English baby boy born toward the end of World War II right in the middle of England, in the most destroyed city, Coventry, to be transplanted to South Africa. And I got to grow up in Durban, South Africa, this beautiful subtropical city on the Indian Ocean, surrounded by Zulus and monkeys and poisonous snakes and all sorts of things like that. And later on apartheid and all of those complexities of growing up in South Africa. And so when I left there in 1969 and sailed across the Atlantic and came to America in search of something, and that something was something called cosmic consciousness, interestingly, and a place called Santa Cruz, California is the place I settled, which is a place where an awful lot of spiritual teachers and yogis and all of those things were just everyday occurrences. And so I transplanted myself to this country, and I'd become a photographer probably 1962, I shot my first roll of black and white film, and it was a major passion of mine. And here I was among the hippies in Santa Cruz, and I became the photographer of the hippie generation, which was really a colorful, fun thing that I got to do. And on and on and on, and met a girl from South Africa and had a bunch of kids, and now I'm the dad of 5 grown Americans and have a bunch of 6 grandchildren now. Wow. Anyway, then I meet, the marriage ends. Of course, I'm a bit much for anybody, so my beloved mother of my children said, you need to get out of here and leave, and I finally agreed to do so, and I thought, oh, it's going to be fun to be single again, but then guess who showed up in my life? There she is over there. And first thing I got to do with Connie, as one does when one gets together with a new sweetheart, is had to take her to meet my mom, who lived in Johannesburg, South Africa. So we took a trip to South Africa, introduced Connie to my family there, and when we'd done a couple of weeks of that, I said, now Connie, we're going to come and meet the rest of the family, and I got to take her to the Kalahari. Because what I'd been doing for the previous decade was working for, well, we developed with my ex-wife, developed a thing called, a nonprofit called Indigenous Heritage, and had befriended the survivors of the San, so-called Bushman people of Southern Africa, who were thought to be extinct. Now, I have a degree in social anthropology from South Africa, which is the study of living tribes and cultures and ethnic groups of human beings. There was no mention of the San because they were believed to be extinct. They are not extinct. You can see photographs I took of them back in 2004 in the gallery. There's about 300,000 of them, and they carry the world's oldest DNA, meaning they literally go back. They're the first people of Africa, therefore they are very likely the first people, or the descendants of the first Homo sapiens. So I just think there's something about that that's extraordinary. I want you to mention that. So that's really my story. I'd love you to go and just look into those faces, look into those eyes, and see the wisdom of people who've been on this planet, their continuous culture, at least 100, 150, 200,000 years. We don't know. They go back into the mists of time and history. The Bushmen of the Kalahari. And some people say that's not politically correct, but that's what they call themselves, the Bushmen. But they're well known as the S-A-N, the San. So, and you've seen them in what movie? Now we're down to trivia. What is the movie where everybody loves?
Gods Must Be Crazy.
The Gods Must Be Crazy. Right. Anybody never seen that film or those films? Have any of you never seen those films? That's amazing. Have any of you seen those films? That's amazing. That's wonderful. Yes, those people. I got to take Connie and introduce her to those people, and you can go and see Connie with them. And how did they treat you?
I've never been so loved on in my life as I was by the Bushmen. Just stroked and loved.
They're very physical. We didn't have language in common, or they didn't have language in common, so it was very just touchy-feely, loving, just caressing, extraordinary, just straight from the heart. Okay, Alison, you're on here. I'm sorry.
Where do we start?
I have a feeling he wants to be the star.
And Allie, I'll speak again after.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry, I don't normally bring my dog with me everywhere. I just came in from Europe, and there was one flight that I could take and make it here, so we didn't really have a chance to drop him, so he's joining for the show. So, but yes, as you can see, I'm Connie's daughter, and so we're just talking a bit about their background. My background is very much captured in a lot of these photo albums, and we spent a lot of time with the Hopi Indians, with the Lacandon Maya. Spent a lot of time coming back here. I just have so many memories looking through those family albums and looking at all of the people that we spent so much time with. And then, there was my trip where we were some of the first Western people ever in this really remote region of China, and it's just really an amazing experience. It's just very interesting to come and reflect on this time and looking back at those pictures and those people, because it was quite a while ago, and it was a bit of a different world. I now work in the data center industry, kind of bringing the internet to the entire world and really sitting in different ways and bringing connectivity to these really remote people. And so it's very interesting, just to think about and really have the experience of living with people in such remote areas. So it's just really nice to come and be reminded of the people and the times that we've had in the past. And just reflect on how fast our world is changing. I do remember in the Lacandone village when we were there, it was the first time that one of the people, he was actually one of the artists that carved one of the tigers that's out there, had gotten TV, and that was a really big deal for that village. And it, you could almost see how that was revolutionizing their life, just that access to information. And now I'm certain they all have access to data and access to cell phones, and it's just a completely different world than when we were able to visit, when I was in that very remote region in 1998 and traveling across China with no cell phones and no maps and no Google Translate and no way to hold my phone up to a menu in French and have it tell me what it says. It's just such a different time, and it's really nice to come here and be reminded of that. So it's really nice. So thank you all for coming. It's so nice to have such a big audience to view the photos and to talk about that time with. So thank you all for coming.
So if you have still a little attention left, I talked about the development of the show. I didn't mention my dad, Jack Baxter, who traveled the world, 48 countries, with his photography. He had a darkroom from the age of 12 on, and photography was his hobby until he retired from big business. He was a major executive in a Fortune 500 company, and when he retired from there in 1982, he took his love of photography and his desire to see the world and the remote regions of the world, and then started taking these pictures and acquiring these artifacts that you'll see that accompany his photography, and a lot of them are going to be auctioned off. So just keep in touch with that if any of those interest you, the ones with the red dots, and there'll be more available as time unfolds. And so I grew up with photographs drawing around the house. He had a darkroom in our home when we were growing up, and there was always photographs drying on the couches and on the everywhere. And so and he gave me my first camera. It was a Brownie Hawkeye. I don't know if you guys remember Brownie Hawkeyes. And he said, okay, this is what you do. Keep thumb off lens. And then you do this, keep thumb off lens. And then you do that, keep thumb off lens. So that's just one of my memories of Dad. And so yeah, I just wanted to share that with you about him. And is there anything else we're missing?
Just that this is the first time we've had the artifacts with the photography.
Yeah, this is the first time the artifacts, and haven't they done a beautiful job of mounting the show? It's magical. We've always had the little not knick-knack, but the little things from the cultures that, that's what I had. I didn't really speak about my photography either. And so I'd like to just say that my family albums that you'll see out there, the actual albums were made for me by artisans in Chiapas, in San Cristobal de las Casas, and you'll see how they're made, and the shop that the foundation or whatever that made them is still operational down there in San Cristobal. And I wanted to have these albums as family albums to show that we are family, that these people are not different from us, that they are us. Because what I saw through these people was that they have a connection to the universe that is extraordinary, and something that humanity is yet to understand and connect with, the Western mind. And so that's been my work over the past 30 years since I saw this through the, what I call visionary elders who came into my life when I was seeking the missing pieces of the paradigm, that I felt that, well, for one thing, our paradigm has holes in it. It can't explain the paranormal and things that happen. Is like, I'm not going to base my life on a paradigm with holes in it. I'm sorry. So I was a teenager, and I went looking for the missing pieces of the paradigm. And the answers you get depend on the questions you ask. And I asked that question, and I went to Europe looking for it and didn't find it. It was just because our paradigms come from Europe. And so I didn't find it in Europe. And I came back to the US, and then visionary native elders started coming into my life up in the Roaring Fork Valley. Wallace Black Elk, one of the great Lakota elders, and his daughter Jennifer and grandson are going to be presenting here on August 31st. And they're carrying that wisdom of their father and grandfather. So I really highly recommend, if you want to really experience some deep Lakota wisdom, that you come and join us on August 31st, which is Labor Day weekend. So you may not be around, but anyway, this meeting Wallace Black Elk profoundly affected my life, and various other visionary elders came into my life. Grandmother Bertha Grove from the Ute people, and I became very close with Grandmother Bertha, with Wallace. He's not in any of the photographs, but the Ute people I became very close with, and I wouldn't hold any event in Aspen without a Ute person there to bless the event, because they're the original caretakers of the land there, and to have something be authentic and grounded, I felt it was necessary to have the original caretakers of the land there to set the energy for it. So that's been my life over the past 30 years, is to bring that what we call the Indigenous cosmology, their understanding of the nature of the universe. And now leading edge science is proving what the Indigenous peoples have known, except that science can't prove the heart and the spirit. Science is proving that it's a holographic fractal universe. I don't know where any of you guys can go with that, but it's basically proving that we are indeed the whole universe. Everything we say, do, and think affects all that is. And the Native people have known that. Wallace used to say, yeah, your thoughts go all around the earth. And so I put that on my screen, and then here's science saying, oh yeah, they not only go all around the earth, they go through the entire cosmos. So it's all very exciting times that we're in, that are bringing forth that connection to our hearts, to our spirits, and to all of creation. So we just welcome you to experience the show here and see what feelings you get, what information you get from seeing these people. And we've written a book called The Trust Frequency, 10 Assumptions for a New Paradigm, that is available out here in the store. And it's bringing Indigenous cosmology and quantum science together to help us understand that it's a conscious, loving universe, that there is, in fact, only love. But it's a love that loves us so much it gives us everything we ask for. And what do we ask? What are we asking for? It's our consciousness and our vibration. It's really physics and vibration. So just know how loved you all are, and our souls came in for the journey that we're on, and the loving universe shows up for that journey, and we just have to choose to act according to the signs that come to us and our own hearts, and have the trust and the knowledge that we came with a gift, and that we can enhance all of creation with that gift that we promised to bring to the party. So anyway, thank you very much. And one person I want to acknowledge is, well, there's my sister Judy over there. My little sister. And there's a lady there in the door, Mary Bauhaus. What is it? What happened? Maya, and she's the one who suggested that she used to work with the museum here, and she's the one who suggested that I approach the museum with our work. So it's because of Mary that this show exists at all. So, it takes a village.
And Connie had mentioned a program on August